You just caught me right before a thunderstorm, I guess, is going to come.
Oh, well, all right. Well, let's get this done first. What's that noise? It's roaming buffalo across the plains of Oklahoma. Yeah.
No, I was going to say, how was your weekend with daylight saving kicking in or kicking
So
out?
I think you and I have about the same sleep schedule, so it just doesn't even matter. I I realize it's dark at a different time, but so I for those of you who are new to this, I wake up at 2:55 every morning for no reason, whether it's daylight savings or not. And my day kind of goes 24 hours, and I take a series of naps. I'm
Mm.
one of those people, and you do international business, so I know your sleep schedule is worse than mine. But the good news about it is the never ending exhaustion. That's the high point. So
Hmm. Yeah, I still haven't lost the ability to fall asleep wherever the hell I am for like 10
right,
minutes and wake up.
yeah, I still really look at it and go, what's the point? I mean, I have no idea what the point of daylight savings is, and I know it was for electricity at one point but we have LED lights and everything now. You know, even the
Hmm.
cities have LED lights, so we're not using anywhere near the amount we used to. Um,
Yeah.
and you know, in Oklahoma, you're not really supposed to talk about that kind of stuff, but we are number one in America with wind energy. You know, so I
Hmm.
mean, it isn't. We're not burning anything to keep this stuff going. I mean, we might burn out a turbine every once in a while, a turbine every once in a while, turbine, turbine.
I was like, Sean, leave them out of this.
I know, I know. Caught myself right in the middle of it, going, I sound like a racist right now. Like, uh, so you know, every and there's people like we're not going to do it. There are a few areas in America that don't do it, and the problem is when you drive into those areas, the clock changes, and if you're in a hurry, that doesn't make any sense, right?
Well, this is the world we created, Sean.
It really is complex for no apparent reason. And
Hmm.
and so, have you ever heard the story about the this wife that used to cut off the ends of a roast when she made it for her family?
Nope.
Anything like that? Okay. In India, let's say it's a pork roast, and that way we don't get in trouble. Um, so this guy's married, and every time their family, they get three little kids, and she would make roast beef once a week, you know, kind of like the British, the Sunday dinner. And
Hmm.
but she would always cut off the rest of it and throw it in the trash can. And
Okay.
her husband came from a family of low means, and he's done well for himself. And he keeps watching this, and he's like, "Why would you throw perfectly good meat away? I mean, why would you do that?" And she says, "Oh, that's what we do." And he eventually, at some Christmas party or something, goes, "Hey, what's the deal with your sister throwing away the meat on the end of this thing?" And the mom chimes in and goes, "Oh, when the kids were little, we only had one baking pan. And the kind of roast you had to buy were too big, so we just had to cut off the end." She said, "But I never threw it away. That's not, we used it for something else, but it just wouldn't fit in the pan." And so next generation, they're still doing the same stupid shit, but yet wasting it.
Mm. Yep.
Yeah.
That is to
So
summarize daylight saving for us.
exactly right there. And we're still doing it for no apparent reason. But so, you know, at 5:30 at night, it's dark. But
Mm.
hell, if you're in Scotland, it's dark for months. You know, I mean, we're not special over here.
I know.
It's interesting what we find important. However, we're not allowed to publicly talk about energy conservation. I
Hmm.
can't can't quite figure that out. But you know, my dad was a farmer, so he conserved he just didn't waste. I mean, you know, was he extravagant? No, but he just didn't waste.
Yeah.
Crazy shit. What's going on in your world? Hey, I did okay. Here's, or do you get moments of flashes of brilliance where you go, I need to write that down because that would be a great app, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was, and it was brilliant. It was literally something that was brilliant, and I was like, and if I don't write it down right then, kind of, I suppose how it works with composers, they get a
Hmm.
song gift from the universe, and they don't write it down, and they're screwed. And I usually don't think that way, but it's very rarely I look and go, you know, they could make an app for this, and it would be so much easier. Jeez, oh Pete. And I know you're in that business, so how many
Yep.
how many of those phone calls do you get?
random app ideas almost every day. At least one person pitches me an idea where I'm like, okay, let's talk this through.
Right. So is there, the commercials used to say there's an app for that because there seems to be one for everything. Mm-hmm. But I find shit that there is not an app for, that there needs to be an app for, especially for old people. Because, mm-hmm. we're late to the game. I mean, we are literally late to the game. But it seems like, my best example these days would be dealing with the state of Oklahoma and redoing our liquor license. There should be an app for that works really simply, and there's not.
Oh, yeah.
But everything has to be done online. Yeah. Yeah, you need to get in on the bidding process on that thing. That's a fucking mess without cussing.
Federal and government projects especially are outlined in such a weird way, Sean, where you won't really understand what they're talking about. So what technically happens in those bids is even if we go draw out the entire application, they would already have an in-house guy who would kind of outline it. Right. And basically recreate the problems on their website into the new platform we're building.
I was going to say, isn't that guy the problem?
Mm-hmm.
So there is an abuse reporting software called Awarity at the Oklahoma State Department of Education. It is the hardest damn thing to navigate ever. And you go, yeah, they're just trying to report a problem.
Yeah.
How can this be this difficult? How is it possible? But how does that happen? I mean, what is the term, since you went to school for this shit, of the person that lays it out and says, I think we can do this an easier way for stupid people?
That technically is done by me.
Right.
Okay, so think about the application that we used to talk about, which was for old people who lived alone and had no one to check on them, which was iMom. So
yeah, that's going to be me within 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay, just in case you didn't understand that, it says, I'm up, meaning I'm awake. He's notifying his family that he's still alive. Little fuckers, you don't get the trust fund yet.
See, the reason why it was built in such a simplistic way was because the person who guided me was David Kaufman, who was like in his late 60s, I guess.
Or 70s, yeah.
Yeah, he never wanted me to add additional features to it. It was just supposed to be where you sign up for the application, put in an emergency contact or two that you want to notify every day that you're awake and about. And all you do is get into the phone, the big button on the phone, which is turned red. You need to touch that. It'll turn green. And everybody gets notified that you're awake. And it just puts up like a motivational quote, which is something he was a fan of. I was like, okay, I'm not going to...
Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
I'm not going to shit on this idea. It's wholesome.
So I think every nursing home should have that in each person's room because everybody has phones in their room. And wouldn't that keep staffing from having to go around and check on them?
Oh, yeah. It is a beautiful application for especially those facilities when you don't have doctors who are on the floor all the time and you have to call in someone if it's an emergency. So,
oh, wow. Yeah. Crazy stuff. Okay. What's the weirdest one you've had somebody talk to you about? Other than the idea where I can't remember what the hell it was. God, it's nuts.
The weirdest one of them would be vacation dogs, which I completely was against. It was for people who didn't have pets, but when they went on vacation, wanted a dog.
Seriously?
Uh-huh.
So they could give it back 2 weeks later?
Mm-hmm. Just on holiday, they wanted to have a dog with them. And then when they come home, they again don't have a dog to take care of.
Is that like if you have a girlfriend or you don't have a girlfriend or boyfriend, but you want to make your family think you are like, I have a dog. He's nice. He loves me. Holy shit. Okay, dude, that's actually weird. Yep. That is weird.
I always told the guy who pitched this idea to me that, listen, this is going to turn out to be one of those applications which is going to turn out to be like the playground for the sexually monstrous, because you don't know who the hell is signing up onto it and renting what. What if they have code names for dogs, Sean?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even want to go with how many ways that could go wrong. They had a deal here that sounds pretty similar to that, where you've got to go to Southeast Oklahoma and hunt for Bigfoot with your son or, some other young man. And I was like, what could possibly go wrong out in the middle of the woods? Right.
Well, that sounds like a trap.
I know. Cheers on that one. Tell me how you're going to put the security guardrails on that one.
Oh, goodness.
Are security guardrails an afterthought or a forethought?
In most applications, if you know that you're going to capture super important information that is critical to the flow of the application, then it's a forethought, because you need to budget for how much you're going to spend to keep all of that information safe before you even start spending on how good it looks. So it kind of increases the cost soon.
Okay, so I have one because the guy presented it to me at our city, and it was where shelters are. And I thought he meant homeless shelters. And I was like, yeah, but they would have to have a phone first. And he goes, no, everybody has a phone, but it's in a tornado, something like that. Where's the local shelter? I was like, okay, but we don't have one anymore. But I may have rethought of my good one. Older people have to go to the bathroom every hour on the hour. And when you type in bathroom near me on Google, you get shit within 20 miles. They need something like within 20 steps. Bathroom near me. There's one for you.
Well, do you know it's always like the innocuous ideas that are the ones that make money? Like,
I literally am looking at it as an old person because I mean this. Every time I walk by a bathroom, I go, oh, should I just go? Because I may not have anywhere to go in an hour. Like a fucking drunk or a drug addict. It's like, I don't want to pass this one up, man. It's my last chance. Somebody's going to make it, Deepak. It could be you.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, building these applications is pretty straightforward. And what most people don't understand is that there are millions of applications out there that you will never hear about because they're so niche in their specific needs and markets. But they're still making money where it's employing like 25 to 30 people and it's running on its own. Everybody thinks that the moment you talk about an app, it has to be like your Uber or your Twitter or your Facebook. And I'm like, no, there is like an entire ecosystem of applications that nobody will hear about, but they have their markets, they generate their money, and they do well.
Yeah. Everybody wants a home run in business, and that rarely is the case. What you really want to do, if we're going to do a baseball analogy, is just get to first base, and then we'll figure out how to get to second base. And I would also think that there's probably a conversation that needs to be had with every single customer of, is this expandable? What kind of growth can this have? And how much does it take to grow? Because I own small businesses that don't grow, but that's what I want to own. But if I was doing something like your guys' shit, I'd always be looking at going, so does this work in every city? Because I want it to work in every city. I mean, that's how do you get that to happen?
See, when you talk about, so take for example the other application, which was a Rabble Home, which was basically an application where if you're a home buyer or seller, you sign up into this application and you have like services provided, right, to basically get you up to speed for home inspections.
Right.
But we had to build additional features in it because each state had a different requirement and different set of needs.
Oh, wow.
So we basically add layers to this application every time it launches in a new state. So it becomes complex, but the thing about it is that it's a constantly growing and developing product. It's never like one and done and you shelf it and you're like, okay, this is the application we're going to work with for the rest of this company's life. It's never that. It's every 3 months, 6 months, even if you don't want any changes made, there's some change that Google or Amazon does that you'll have to go back and fix in your applications.
Isn't that weird? So we're doing online ordering for one of the restaurants, but we're not doing it for the other one yet because that's the one that I think will make money at it.
Yeah.
And it's not that it's complex. It's just different. And as an old person, you know, Diana is my partner and general manager here, and she's a younger person in your age range, and it all makes sense to your guys' age. And I just sit there and go, so it just shows up on your phone. Wow. Okay. But I really like it, and I'm excited to see what it will do next door. But I also go, we could be too busy at that point because that place is already insane. So it's I don't know where that manageable space will be, but we're gonna get there.
See, dude, I was actually talking to Diana yesterday because we were trying to figure out your website for the sole reason there are one section where it's products, like your books and your T-shirts, and the other section is the food menu. And when we were talking about it, she told me, I still haven't told people it's live and we still get orders. And I was like, wait till Sean announces it on the podcast and ruins this.
Right. Well, my thing is this is we're okay with it here because you just look, I would say this to anybody. You don't want to start off with a hit. You want to start off a little slower and build to it because you need to figure out what's wrong. Look, nothing comes out flawless. And you also have to go, do you have enemies trying to take it down while you're trying to build it? Because that people don't really think other people in business are nefarious, and they are. But I know when we do it on Vito's side, you're adding to the busiest nights of the week. Like Friday and Saturday, we're at max for the 4 hours the place is open. But you can always add another cook. I mean, that's the way I look at it. You know, it's no more equipment. It's nothing. Cost is, next to nothing. You can, why not? But then how do you make it efficient? That's going to be the kind of the next thing is efficiencies. We don't have any extra space here except by my front door. And that's awfully cold in winter. So I just find all that fascinating. And I always have people, they go, you should have an app for your business. And you go, we're not that exciting. I mean, do you want my politics on there? Because you might not agree with them. Here's where you can organize and protest with Sean Cummings Irish Pub. You never been to a protest before? Drink first.
That would be a fun app. I think we just make that happen. Sean, find the closest protest to you so that you can go.
Okay, that would be funny as shit. I might be down for that one. Yeah, so let me ask you this, because I've watched you build stuff here, and since you're living across the world now, if people want to build stuff like it, what do they need to do? What do they need to have written down before they call? Because I always tell people, before you go to the doctor, have your questions written down, what you want to ask the doctor. I would say the same thing in your deal. Have your questions written down before you call. Because I have unfortunately sat in with a meeting or two on accident.
With me, yes, I remember.
And I was frustrated in the meeting, and you were very calm, but I was like, yeah, that's not what he said. He said it won't work. And I remember and then I was like, I should not be talking to his client is what I should not be doing right now.
See, usually I'll get them to at least come up with the main concept. What I need from them is what are they going to use to generate revenue? Because that is a massive segment of the entire build. If I don't know what they want to generate money through, I'm not going to plan for it. And later it's going to be a hassle.
And are you trying to make money, or are you trying to use it for publicity?
Yes, same.
Because it's not the same. You know, and I don't know do people know that?
Yeah, but I think they don't.
Okay. Because a lot of the stuff I do politically doesn't make any money. But it does bring people into my places. I can't lie and act like it doesn't work for me. But that isn't why I do it. So I have to go, okay, if this is a net loss, I have to be okay with it because it's coming in over here. Because I also have people that won't come into my places because of my politics.
Yeah. See, it's tricky.
Right. But what I was going to ask is, do you feel like you're a babysitter or a negotiator or a counselor at times and go, okay, this is what I see happening with this? And how do you get people to realize they still have to sell their deal? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like they still have to push it. It doesn't push just because you launched it.
Like, see, the main thing I always told you is I'm like a glorified babysitter at some of these meetings where I have to just sit there and be like, hey, listen, once we have the apps thought out how you're generating money, we still need to go out and pitch it to investors to raise money, depending on what your goal is. Because your biggest chunk of money is going to be going out the door once we build the product, and you have to get users on the platform. So at that point, you're talking about it's a very important number known as your user acquisition cost. How much money are you spending to get one user to sign up and be a loyal app user? Yeah. So sometimes it's thought through, sometimes it isn't. And the marketing aspect of it is the biggest pain because you get drowned out.
Well, there's just so many, I mean, I have to be honest, I'm at OnCue, this grocery store, and they're always like, do you have the app? And I go, no, that's why I'm at the register. I don't want your app. And they're like, yeah, but you could get a free soda. And I go, I don't need a free soda either. Can I just pay for my gas? But my friend David Glover does this everywhere. And so he literally calls me and goes, hey, I've got free fries at Johnny's. Do you want to go? And I go, I own restaurants. I can't go to somebody else's restaurant and use your app to get free shit. We're not supposed to do that. And he goes, well, you can come buy something and I'll get my free shit. And I'm like, all right, I'm in. So he gets coupons essentially sent to him on these apps, which I'm a bit jealous, but I also can't use stuff like that in the business I'm in. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Can I tell you, Alex is a huge user of the food service apps. Like on his phone, you'll find everything from like McDonald's apps all the way to like some fancy ass restaurants apps. Because every now and then he'll get a push notification where they're like, hey, buy one, get one free. And you just go there and use the app to redeem points. The weird one was that he has points at the garage on Britain and May, which is a bar and a restaurant type thing.
Right. Good burgers.
So he basically just goes there with points at times and has a meal.
No shit. Wow. So I guess I do a version of that at Sam's Club because I got like $500 sitting in an account down there because we buy so much. Yeah, I go there every day to buy like styrofoam shit. Yeah. Cheap shit, but I don't have any storage, so I have to be able to go get it somewhere every day. And they give me points for all of this stuff, but I guess I don't use their app because they want me to use it and check myself out by phone. I'm a little weird about all that stuff. I mean, I know I'm weird, dude, I'm 60, fuck. I just assume all of my information has been stolen and sold 30 or 40 times, but it's just not worth picking up on. Yeah. I don't buy enough shit. They got to find somebody who buys stuff. So how do the protections work for that kind of, I mean, because, you got to get old people to do stuff because they're the biggest spending population right now, I believe, the boomers still. How do you get them to do apps when they're suspicious? Because, I mean, that generation's a little odd right now.
See, I'll tell you the biggest saving grace to this, and also it's a double-edged sword, was cloud computing. When your servers were all put into server farms, where companies that you bought the server space from were now in charge of security. So you no longer had to like spend thousands of dollars to secure your applications because now they were hosted on services. So if there's a data breach, it'll happen at an Amazon or a Google cloud facility where those companies would, so it's no longer like the individuals in that old school way where I would walk into an office and they'll ask me for like to build them something. And I'll look behind them and I'll be like, shit, is that your server? They'll be like, oh yeah, we put that in.
In 1965. And
I'm like, oh God, y'all don't need that.
Wow. That's awesome. Well, it's a weird setup, and I wish I could remember my and it was a brilliant idea, dude. I'm kind of terrified I can't. I got like old person brain. I'm telling you, I just got to write stuff down. But I think there's a future in the where's the bathroom app. I really do. I know that sounds crazy, but you just got to look at usability.
Sean, get me a bunch of old people who are ready to invest and we'll run a prototype.
Right. And then you need to have an old comedian be the guy that goes up on there and goes, hey, I just want to tell every one of you about it.
I would pitch Lewis Black on it.
Exactly. If my prostate's working, I can go. If not, I need to know where the next place is. Yeah, that is brilliant. I'm turning my bread for those of you who are not used to our podcast. I'm making bread. We make 3 different kinds of bread here every single day, and I have made 2 of them already. Hey, my other guy, I came in and retrained him on, because I'm the one that came up with the original bread that we use in the other restaurant. And he was like, why are you here? And I said, well, I invented it, so I'm here to show you how we actually are supposed to be making it. And he was like, oh, I didn't know that. And I go, yeah, I'm not mad. It's the same ingredients. You're just not doing it right. I was very popular that day.
I bet.
Yeah. Not crazy. All right. Sorry, man. I'm in the middle of this. Talk for a second so I can lift these things up with their blazingly hot pans.
Don't worry about it. What I was going to tell you is that we talk about climate change every now and then. There was a cricket match that was supposed to be held in New Delhi, and the teams couldn't go onto the ground to practice because the air quality was so poor that the coaches didn't want them out there.
Right. You remember China had to shut down all their manufacturing during one of the Olympic deals? Yep. And you just go, so Americans believe that we have gotten rid of pesticides and herbicides that were dangerous. We did not. They just moved them to Mexico. And we moved our dirty manufacturing to you guys and to China. And then we have the audacity to bitch about it. And you go, you want slave labor prices. This is what you get. It doesn't mean the pollution's not happening. It's just not happening to you right now. It's we have a social disconnect. My cousins in Ireland do not buy like we buy here. You know, they just don't buy shit they don't need. And it isn't that money's precious. They're all pretty well off. They just don't buy shit they don't need.
John, you should see something curious that I noticed in like departmental stores here in packaging.
Yeah.
Their packages are small, where you'll get the smallest size, which is for a one-time use. It could be anything, but you will find like a sachet of something. Like even if it's like a shampoo, you can get a sachet to just throw in your suitcase and travel.
Oh, nice. Yeah, instead of, doing the whole bottle and then leaving it wherever you're at. That's nice. Okay, so what I would say on that is we have the dollar store, or it's called Dollar Tree. There's Dollar General, which is not a dollar. It's like a scam. But Dollar Tree, you go in there and it's $1.25 for almost all of their stuff. And they have 1 or 2 time usage stuff. So if I'm traveling, I go load up there for like $5. I use it and then it's gone. So I'm not wasting it. But I don't want to bring a big Sam's Club bottle of shampoo with me anywhere to wash my 4 hairs. I mean, it's fucking silly. Okay, so hey, before we get off here, how much time we got? We got about 4 or 5 minutes left. Am I right?
4 or 5 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I was talking to Christine. I think you remember Christine, and so we were talking about an India trip, but I can't finalize my timing. But what ended up happening is, so why do so many people live in the north of India? Most of your population lives in a very small, dense area, and then you are all the way down in the south. I need an explanation for why that is.
John, that has something to do with history, because that part of India is where it has the old Khyber Pass, which was how the Persians and Mughals and all of them came to India. So they populated that northern part. So the northern part of India is very different from here, the south, because it was the existing inhabitants of the continent of India that got pushed down once the invading.
No shit. Yeah.
Once the invaders came through, people moved south. So
Right.
in the old days before the British, we were just small kingdoms. So the Southern
Right.
Kingdom was just ruled by South Indian kings, who were the old kings that
Right.
left the North. And I think right now the population there it must be a mix between like generations of the old capital of the city of India being
Yeah.
there. And
Right.
also, I don't know if I'll be right or get yelled at by this, but it
Right.
also
Oh,
has
you will be.
something to do with education.
Uh-huh.
Southern India, you'll never find, very rarely you'll find the educated population having more than one or two children. Whereas in Northern India,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
pretty common to have many children. And a lot of it is
Oh,
still
wow.
agricultural because that is where the Ganges flows. So it's
Right.
fertile land with farming and all of that going on.
Right.
So it's
So is that worth going to or not?
a lot of people go there because they do the Golden Triangle, which is
Mhm.
basically visiting the Taj Mahal and then
Yeah.
going to Jaipur, which is known as the Pink City, which is an
Right.
ancient city with a palace in the middle of the lake, which is now a five-star hotel.
Oh, wow. Nice.
hmm
Huh.
And it's interesting because I've actually been there. It's fun to go if you're a tourist and doing tourist
Right.
stuff. hmm
So how does one keep from getting killed while roaming the countryside?
It's not that dangerous if you stay away
Right.
from like really shady shit.
Right.
Like
If you're not out buying crack, you won't have problems with crack dealers.
pretty much.
Right.
See, there's
Okay, because
actually
we're
a friend of mine runs a tour company there. So if
right.
there are people from Oklahoma visiting, I usually call him and let him know because he's
Oh,
a
there you go.
local guy there. So he takes care of
Right.
that shit for us.
Nice. Okay. Well, I got my passport sent off, so I'm going to be legal here in a few months. So we'll see how all this shit shakes out. But we've had a rather interesting talk, and I said, well, I tell you, there's some manufacturing in Pakistan I would like to go see, and she goes, I'm not going to Pakistan as a white female. Not right now. No.
Tell her to just stay with me in Bangalore. We'll hit the pubs. You go do all this nonsense and come back, hopefully.
Okay, do you remember the machine we tried to buy for like 2 years ago, the chip machine, and it's made in Pakistan? And my God, you would want to talk to somebody in their government and go, dude, I've been trying to buy this for 2 years. How hard can this be? And do they not know they're being flagged on anything that comes across the border, or is that common knowledge?
I have no idea. We tried to reach out to that guy. We would have actually had a potato chip making operation in Oklahoma if you'd ever gotten back to us.
Right. Yeah, it's amazing, but I really and truly, it was the most efficient set of machinery I'd seen. So really and truly, if I can safely get in and out, I would like to go see it, but I'm also concerned with bringing something back here from Pakistan. I won't lie.
Why don't I just look around in South India and figure out there must be a dude who makes this? Yeah.
Right. For an extra $100, we don't have to do that.
Yes. Plus, I'll get flagged in multiple different ways, Sean, trying to enter Pakistan and buy shit and come back.
Exactly. I know. Yeah. All right, man. Well, take us out of here. For any of those who were listening today, I was just trying to cover my brilliant ideas for apps that I couldn't remember. But the one that I do want to see is, where is the closest bathroom? At my age, I just don't think people understand how serious of a problem this is for old people. It's whew.
I will think about it. No promises.
Yeah. All right, brother. Take us out of here. I got to go get my bread out of it.
That is the Villagers podcast, a Monday episode that we recorded during a thunderstorm here and while Sean was making bread there. So there you go.
All right, homie. Take care. I'll see ya.